you don't know, my name's Yorke and I'm an autism advisor for local authorities in the West Midlands, and I run this kind of group called Accepting Behaviour, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm really enjoying it. And it's basically, the aim is to support anyone who's supporting autistic kids and want to understand, you know, when sometimes strategies don't work or things aren't working. I'm a big fan of what we call acceptance-based strategies, and that's what I'm all about. So everything you'll hear today is all about how to apply acceptance to autistic kids. Right, thinking differently about supporting autistic kids in classrooms. The other day, well, a couple of weeks ago, I joined an autism conference, and a lot of it was really good, but a lot of the, like, there was still a message of what we call the traditional message flying around, and these are just some things I picked up during this conference, and it just got me a bit down, if I'm honest, which has motivated me to do this, because I think it's really important that we move away from all this stuff. But this is just my view on it. So these are kind of the things that I heard. Nudging and pushing kids out of their comfort zones. You know, we should do that. They need to learn to be social. It's not okay for them to be in their rooms. Gaming is bad for them. Exposure of what they want to do and what they don't want to do. Parents are overprotective. That kind of thing, that kind of message, it's still out there. Yeah, it's still kind of floating around. Now, I'm a big fan of acceptance-based stuff. And what I want to do during this session is kind of just share with any educators out there how you can actually experience this yourself, how you can actually use acceptance-based stuff. Because it's really growing, and you know, acceptance-based thinking is kind of what I call it, and it's really powerful stuff, and hopefully these tips today are going to really help you to grasp on to actually, you know, if there are kids that are, you know, being told to kind of do that traditional stuff, you know, sit still or be quiet, don't shout out, and you know, and if you're a teacher or a parent and you're tired of trying to kind of help your kids to just sit still and be quiet, and nothing's working, and you've tried all the other structured timetables and all the now and next boards, or the, you know, the rules, the sit on the naughty step, if all that stuff doesn't work, this stuff is going to work. And it's also going to help you if you're a parent at home as well. A lot of this stuff is based around school and home. Now, I'm not going to give you, do this and this will work. I'm not going to give you actual things to do in this session, because I don't believe that that's what is beneficial when we're looking at acceptance-based strategies. Acceptance is all about your thinking and how you can change your thinking to support the kid. All right, let's go for it. Okay, so here's tip number one. Their disability is not their fault. All right, massive thing that I talk about all the time, and forgive me if you've heard this. There are some new ones on here, but I really think this is paramount. Now, you might think, well, of course it's not their fault. You know, you might think, well, yeah, of course we know that. But the thing is, when we're looking at strategies, you'll see that actually there is a view that it's a fault of the child, whether people are aware of it or not. And it's called the medical model of disability. So if you imagine there's a poor little kid, he looks like he's hung up on one of them dartboards. The view of the medical model, okay, is that the problem is with the child. Okay, so, and this is a view of disability in general with the medical view, and it's the traditional view, and you'll see me coming up with these terms all the time, because this is what it's about. I don't think it's about people not liking kids or not supporting them because they can't be bothered. It's actually about wrong thinking, and you know, we've all been victim of this, but it's really important that you get it in your heads, because the problem isn't with the child, it's not their fault. Okay, now let's look at what a disability is defined in the UK in the Equality Act. So it says a person with a disability has a physical or mental impairment. You can see that word impairment, so it's like a negative thing, which has a substantial and long adverse effect on their ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities. Now that's true. I you know, obviously agree with that. And I think there is an element of we have to accept the disabilities there. However, I think it's more about accepting it as a difference and being okay with it. So not looking at it as an impairment or a deficit or something bad, something's wrong. Because then what happens with teachers and parents and you guys is you feel bad about it. You think, oh man, I need to do more. I need to try harder. And it's not true. And again, it's only my view. Hopefully you know the way my head works by now. So let's kind of break this down a bit. So a visual disability. What is a visual disability? There are three main disabilities that all people in classrooms will come up against and will have to deal with. And this is the first one, visual disability. So what is a visual? What does it look like? Well, kids need to wear glasses, don't they, to see. If they don't, well, they're going to bump into things and they're going to struggle to write from a board. They might find it hard to play with kids in a playground, you know, because maybe they can't see, or maybe, you know, there's an element of, well, we need to sort the eyes out. We need to support the visual side of it, right? Now, here's something that, have a look at this. Okay, imagine if this was on a wall in your kid's classroom, okay? So it says, good looking, make sure you try harder to see, and then you must focus more on or the blurriness won't go away. And then remember to concentrate so your eyes can improve. Imagine seeing that. How would it make you feel? I'd be absolutely fuming, okay? Because, you know, my kid wears glasses and I'd be like, hold on a sec. She can't actually see very well. So how can we make her focus more so the blurriness goes away? How can we make her remember to concentrate so her eyes will improve? Now, just for clarification, that is not a real poster, okay? It'll make sense in a minute. Now, going back to this poster, right? Here's another thing. I've never seen a kid go to a learn how to see better group to improve their eyes, all right? Just doesn't happen, okay? Now let's move on to another disability, physical disability. What is that? Well, you know, kids sometimes are in a wheelchair or they need help with something that's physical and it's nothing to do with them. Going back to that, it's not their fault. It's not a kid's fault if they've got no vision, correct 20/20 vision. It's not their fault, is it? Okay, you'd never put a kid on report for not seeing properly. Same with physical disability. If a kid can't walk, you're not going to have a go at them about it. Now imagine you saw this in your kid's classroom. Good walking. Make sure to walk the same as everyone, or sit on the floor, not on your wheelchair, or try harder to make your legs work, right? Imagine seeing that. And then going back to the group thing in the dinner times. I've never seen a kid who's physically disabled go to a learn how to walk better group, all right? Doesn't exist, okay? Now, here's the third main disability that teachers and educators and classrooms and you parents will come against, and it's where autism fits, okay? So if you didn't know, autism is what's termed a social disability. So what is that? What does that look like? Well, they're not able to sit still, or they'll get easily upset. They might swear and get angry because they can't work out their emotions too good, and they lose interest. They get argumentative. Maybe they can't sleep. They're going to disengage. They're going to run from class. They're going to refuse to do things. That's a social disability, right? Now, the next poster I'm going to share with you is real, all right? I found it in a classroom, okay? Now, again, I don't think the person who stuck it up there was thinking this way, but going off those other two, look at this now and let's compare, okay? So think about two things now. There's an autistic kid who cannot sit still because maybe they've got a bit of ADHD and they're a bit fidgety and they cannot give eye contact, all right? Just try and picture that in your head. And then that kid looks at this on the wall. Good listening. Look at the speaker. Try to keep still. And this one I thought was hilarious. Think about the same thing. I mean, come on. It's just bad, isn't it? But anyway, I hope that's touched on what I'm trying to, get across with this first tip, because I see a lot of kids getting sent to a learn how to be social group, learn how to be better, learn how to use your eye contact, or learn how to communicate better so it's appropriate. I see it all the time. Okay. Again, lots of us have seen in the HCs sometimes where it will be to give good eye contact. It's just like madness. Anyway, so that's tip number one, all right? It's not their fault. Okay. Forgive me if I've drilled that into you by now. Let's look at the next one, right? Number two tip. Don't look for quick fixes, all right? This is really, really good. And before I get into these tips now, just for clarification, if you don't know me, I've been a teacher. I taught for 18 years and I've been advising for about 8 years. So I have taught autistic kids. I am a qualified teacher, so I know these work because I've tried them, okay? Just in case, you're like, who the hell are you? I don't know. We're probably not thinking that, but okay, so let's look at what I'm talking about here. So quick fixes, they don't work. You have to invest in all that they do, both unwanted and, I couldn't think of the right word here, allowed behaviours, all right? It takes time to build confidence in you as the teacher or as the parent so that the child will respond the right way to you. So here's the thing, what I'm trying to say here is, if you look for a quick fix, sit still. Sit on that red spot. Don't spin around in the classroom. I don't know. Put your hand up. Cameron, my son, 7 years his individual education plan had to put his hand up. Cameron never saw the point. He says, well, I know the answer. Bless him. Little kid. When he was doing that, he's 21 now. Still, I think he probably has now thought, yeah, I need to put my hand up. It's irrelevant, right? It's about looking at, well, is that an unwanted behaviour for the teacher? Well, it's actually looking at, well, you know what? It's not a quick fix. Instead of looking at a kid that just shouts out, instead of focusing all your energies on getting them to put their hand up, why not focus all your energies on that classroom being okay with him calling out? Okay, now I know that's tricky because especially if a kid knows he can call out, he'll call out all the time, but that's who they are, isn't it? And it's about us adapting our classrooms to meet that need, because the other end of the scale is telling them off, getting frustrated and creating self-esteem issues with them, because it happens, doesn't it? A kid shouting out because they can't help it, and it's about you accepting that behaviour as well as the other behaviours. Oh, good sitting or good listening. You could really say, oh, good calling out without putting your hand up. I don't know. I'm just trying to help out here, but it's not making things an issue and not looking for quick fixes, right? So that's tip number 2, and then tip number 3, or I've put number 2 here. I've got it wrong, but anyway, it doesn't matter. This is a good one. Allow them to learn their way. So powerful this is. And here's the thing with this, right? I have so many stories that I could just sit for hours and tell you about how children have moved away from all the crap and away from all the negativity in their life because the parent or the teacher has done this. They've focused on their learning their way, right? So you've got a class of 30 and you're taught, I'm taught as a teacher. I remember, we had like half a couple of hours on SEN, but it was all about behavioural. You've got to get your kids to sit still and do as you say and go when the bell goes and all this kind of stuff. And this is the system these kids are put into. But it's key, if a kid can't sit still, to think, why can't he sit still? Not, oh, he's just choosing to not to, he's always being naughty. So this really has impacted a lot of people. Let's just look at what I mean by this, right? So learning their way. Now, this is not learning their way. Okay, and these are, symbols that we see all around classrooms, and they are used and they can work, especially for little kids. If maybe a kid is leaning back on his chair, doesn't know he can't, but that's different. I'm not talking about those kids. Do not slump. Maybe a kid's tired because they couldn't sleep. Oh, he's looking. Let's not go there with eye contact. Hands up to speak. Talked about that. Sit quietly. Well, what if they need to fidget to learn? What if this kid needs to move around? I mean, I have to shake my legs and my daughter. To be told not to, it's kind of like we can't. Don't lean back. Some kids really need to just kind of move all the time. So that's the traditional view, isn't it? Now, this is the autism view, or the autistic way of going with their learning. And I've done this a lot. Letting kids sit under a table, letting kids pace at the back, letting kids sit on a gym ball. Oh my God, £8 from Argos transforms. I've got loads of stories. Sitting on a chair with your shoes off, all this stuff. It's what we call reasonable adjustments, isn't it? It's stuff that can work and can actually make your job in the classroom better and easier for you. Because trust me, I know teachers that are so stressed and all they're doing is just raising their voice all through the day because kids are not doing what they think they need them to do. And it's about just stepping back and going, all right then, let's go with the kid. Let's see what happens. You might be surprised. And again, I've tried this, I've done this, and all of my teaching classroom years, I'm never going back there. Hats off to all you teachers. I would just let them learn the way they wanted to learn, and I would fight for that. I wouldn't get them to sit and do morning songs and stuff because I was in a special school. My kids couldn't do it. They'd be climbing all over us and rolling around the floor. We used to do morning songs with them on radiators, or one kid used to walk around and he used to just push a chair over and just laugh. So one day we got up and we all just started tipping chairs over in class, and everyone just had a massive laugh. And this kid, that was the most engaging he had with us during that lesson. Anyway, I'm not saying go around tipping chairs, but you know what I mean. Follow the learning of the kid. He was non-verbal, so, we were very, very proud of him for tipping his chairs. Number 3, you've got to earn their respect before they give respect to you. I mean, I wish, right, that I could teach this, because I'm not sure if you can. I think it's about all sorts of elements, isn't there? How we view children. Like, I hate being called Mr. Yorke. I'm not Mr. Yorke, I'm Aaron. And every class I've ever taught in, I'm Aaron. And even when I did some work in a college, they asked me to be called Mr. Yorke. I said, no, I'm not going to be called Mr. Yorke, because this is just my view, right? Mr. Yorke means that I'm more important than them, and I'm not. I'm just a human trying to get on with my life. So are they. And it's my job to inspire them in that lesson, whatever I'm teaching, to feel good about who they are. So Aaron was just so much better. And it's interesting because when you go to, say, post 16, you are called your first name. And it's like, well, why shouldn't we all? But anyway, that's just my view. You might disagree. Earning their respect. How do you do it? You listen to them. You talk about their problems for an hour. You just be there for them, and you stop a lesson if one of them looks sad, and you all gather around and you chat and how you doing. It's about building their respect. Maybe a couple of dinner times on your dinner break. Don't have dinner. Have some sandwiches with the kid that's troublesome in your classroom. Just go and play with them in the playground. I very rarely see teachers playing in playgrounds, and I know you need a break, but you know what I'm trying to say. If you've got a kid that you've spent 7 weeks and he's just freaking out, have a little break with your sandwich in your hand and just go and chat with him. And it's about earning respect, because I think with autism, my son said this a lot, about he only remembers the adults that got him. And autistic kids are very clever. They know if you get them or if you don't. They really, really do. So that is a brilliant one. And if you can just take it to heart and just have a think about it. A really good saying, isn't it? Give respect to get respect. I think it's so powerful. This one's good. This next one. This is me. This was me today. Time to vent their frustrations. Give them time. They need time. They need time. Because we need time, don't we? And these are just things that I advise and try and implement in schools and stuff. So it's okay for a child to walk out of class. Instead of sending them to a heads office or a PRU or a rap room or just a room where they're going to get in trouble, right? There are rooms that get sent where kids are embraced and encouraged. And this is what I'm saying. Give them a consistent place to go. So there is a room in a school called a rap room, and it's brilliant. And I go into this school, and honestly, they just embrace the kid in this room. And so it's like they have a time out to just chill. And I just wish all schools would do that. But, I'm not here to talk about buildings and things and rooms. It's okay for them to get angry. It's normal. Focus more on preventing the anger from happening. That is so much more powerful. Run around the playground with them screaming. This is how you vent, right? Sit on the floor, tear up loads of paper. Such a great activity that is. Do not teach your children in the class that there is only one way to behave. This is not reality. Now, there is a set of rules, of course. But again, if you have a set of rules where you must be quiet in the hall and there's a kid that needs to talk, that rule doesn't benefit that kid, does it? It's not about, we're not, what's that, I'm watching that. Oh no, forget that. I just don't know what I just said. Yeah, I'm just watching a crazy program where they try and control everyone else trying to compare it. But it is pretty much that, isn't it? Everyone will sit still, the bells will go when the bells go, and that child needs to obey. And that's what I'm saying. Be a bit flexible with the rules, bend them, because we bend them, don't we? Come on, guys. How many times do we go in classrooms and go into the teacher's box and vent in the cupboard and cry our eyes out because we've had enough of school? It's reality, and our kids need it too. Okay, this one's really good, and I'm doing some work around this at the moment because I think that it's really key, and I think a lot of people are missing it. I could be wrong. It's just my views. How are we doing for time? Yeah, I'm doing really well. Okay, so I talked to myself then. How are we doing for time, Aaron? Yeah, doing really well. Sorry, it's been a long day. Being social their way, well, what's that? Okay, well, it's taking that medical model and flipping it on the head, because the medical model, or the deficit model, says, oh my God, if a child is not sociable, well, we've got to teach them because the problem's with them, okay? And I don't agree. I really don't. So here's my kind of thinking on it. A kid says, I want to be in my room more than socialising with friends. That's good and okay. I don't want to socialise at parties. That's also okay. I don't want to socialise with you at dinner times. That's fine too. I want to be quiet during conversations. I don't want to feel like I've got to talk. That is also their social skill. Can you see what I'm trying to say here? I think people forget. So my little girl, Lily, you know, some of you who are followers on of this, she will pop in every now and then, and you know, and she's autistic, and she needs to be in a room on her own. And if I go in a room, hey Lily, and she can't cope with it, that's her way of being sociable. And then she'll come down in the middle of, you know, the afternoon and go, hi Dad, I've done this, and won't stop talking. That's her way of being sociable. I'm not teaching my Lily to get up at a certain time so she can get dressed and have school routine, because what's that about? That's not how she functions. And I think it's about trying to deconstruct this view that if a kid doesn't socially interact, it's wrong. Because actually, it's about us going, that kid wants to play alone in the playground. That kid doesn't want to sit with us at dinner time and socialise. Well, then that's fine. Now, you know, that's just my thinking on it. And this is what I really, really do believe, and what I'm starting to really apply to a lot of my work now. It's about not focusing on so much on teaching them social skills, instead working on accepting the child's way of being social. I think that's really powerful. And I wish I'd have kind of got my head around that when Cameron was young, because I kind of knew it, but I had a lot of battles with a lot of schools. I remember one school, we actually didn't even visit it, right? I just spoke to the head, lovely woman. She went, you know, we're not going to be able to offer Cameron a place, don't you? You know, we can't have children like Cameron here. It's just like, you know, because there's this fear of, oh my God, he's autistic. There's going to be something so badly wrong in the classroom. It's going to be a nightmare. Whereas really, it might be actually, we just got to think differently about these kids and try our best to put them in this system that they're in, which isn't really designed for them. But just break those rules a bit, or not break, bend them, or be a bit relaxed and be a bit more focused on how the child learns. And maybe we learn things from that, because that's what I'm finding anyway. This next one is a good one. Tip number 6. This is really powerful. I love this picture. Believe the parents. Love it. Totally true. Totally 100%. It's what I say to a lot of my schools. And it's so right, guys, because they're the experts, because they're the ones. I am a parent of 2 autistic kids. I know them really well. And please listen to me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, don't presume if a child is fine at school and not at home that it must be the parenting. Parents are they are experts. Use it. Learn from them how to be a better teacher to their children. That's really, really key. I really do think that, yeah. And it makes it easy. You know, if I don't know a kid, you know, thinking back in my teaching years, I'd sit with the parent for an hour and have a coffee and say, come on, what's he really like? I'd learn more than that than reading the EHC half the time. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, then you get to know the kid. What does he love to do? He loves Tom at the Tank Engine. He loves to listen to it. He's 18. Brilliant. We'll let him watch Tom at the Tank Engine. You know, it's about getting their things and listening to the parents and knowing what calms them down, because then guess what? It's what will calm the kids down in your class. Really good one. This one's number 7. I've only got 2 more, guys. Take away their stress. All right. How do you do that? I can't even take away my stress sometimes. But how do we do that? Well, here's the thing, right? Stress can cause trauma. Taking away their stress removes that trauma experience, removes that or eases it. Don't think you're going to fix it. You know, honestly, if you really take on board, and it's not just me that thinks this, okay? There's lots of people out there talking about the medical models and the social model, which is the other side of it. I personally sit in the middle. You know, I think it's okay to say I'm disabled. I'm autistic. So okay for me to say I'm disabled, but I also needs for me to be accepted within that, if that makes sense. There's nothing wrong with me. That's what I'm, you know. Well, I've got thrown there. Right. Oh, yes. So you don't have to fix their stress. Okay. So think about, how do I calm this kid down? So they're getting upset in English. Well, let them have a 5-minute break, or let them do 10 minutes of English and then 40 minutes of just sitting on their iPad calming down. Isn't that better for them to just feel calmer in the stress than getting them to face it? Now, there's a talk I've got on anxiety on YouTube. It goes right into all this and what it's about. So if you haven't seen that, go over to it. I think it's understanding anxiety in autistic children. It's really good tips to take away stress. But that is a really good tip. This one's interesting. I am going to ask you guys, I'm going to come in a minute and have a chat with you all. But I love this. Stop sanctioning and focus more on protection and prevention, right? This is, again, just my view on it, right? Detentions are not the answer. Isolation rooms scare the hell out of me. They're ineffective. Behaviour reports are just not reliable. Raising your voice isn't the way. Let me give you a quick example of these, right? Spoke to a amazing little kid the other day, and she's so funny. She's hilarious. We were just talking about school and, you know, as you do, what do you like, what you don't like. And we got onto what you don't like about teachers. And she said, there's one who always shouts. And she said, and I hate it. And you know what? Don't be that teacher. Don't be that teacher that's in that little kid's head that, oh, you're the one that always shouts. How horrible is that? Oh no, I'm not a fan of that, you know. So don't be that teacher. Right. Acceptance-based strategies, that's it. What do we think? Talk to me. Let's have a look. Is there anybody? Oh, you're still on, so that's good.